Hey everyone. Everyone seems to be, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've noticed everyone's on a weight loss kick now. But most weight loss plans are one size fits all, right? And there's a company called Noom, Noom, which actually builds personal plans that meet individuals' needs because people are overweight for different reasons. A lot of them are psychological. A lot of people have dietary restrictions, medical issues, and your biology. And that's why I love Noom, because Noom takes into consideration all of this. It is like a personalized weight loss system that meets your lifestyle. It doesn't restrict you. You don't feel shame. One of my friends lost so much weight on this, and his life has completely changed. And swears by it. He swears by it. So Noom uses psychology because losing weight really does start with your brain. And as someone who has struggled with weight my entire life, I know there's biological factors that affect weight loss. And this program helps you understand. That's what it's all about, understanding the science and psychology behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. It's time to get healthy. We know the effects of being overweight now. We know so much more, and everyone's journey is different. So that's why you need Noom. It's flexible. It focuses on progress. Noom will help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. And FYI, active first-time Noom users lose an average of 15 pounds in 15 weeks, and 95% of customers say Noom is a good long-term solution. And Noom is grounded in science, and I believe in science. So what are you going to do? You're going to stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com. And based on a 3.5-year study of actively engaged Noom users with minimum starting BMI of 25. Individual results may vary. Visit our website for more information. That is Noom.com. She needs to do a podcast since she never got her due. She's a big lesbian and a loudmouth Jew. With a gasket always ready to blow, you're listening to Judy's show. Who? Judy's show. Wait a minute, who are you talking about? Oh, she's an asshole. What is wrong with you? Oh, you suck. So long. Fuck off. Hey everyone, welcome to It's Judy Show with Judy Gold. I'm your host, Judy Gold, and today we are airing part one of my live interview with the one and only Stephanie Ruhle, and it was so amazing. Thank you to everyone who showed up. You are going to love this podcast, both part one and part two. Stephanie is a gift. I'm telling you, she's an amazing storyteller. Yeah, it was perfect. So you're in for a treat. I do want to say that I am, before we begin, because I want to get to it right away, I'm in My First Ex-Husband, which is an off-Broadway show. And I am with the amazing Susan Lucci, Kathy Moriarty, who is just a love beyond love, Tanya Pinkins, a talent beyond talent. I mean, I am so lucky. Thank you to Joy Behar for writing this, and the producers are fantastic, and the whole the stage manager, the director, everyone is just a gem. And so I feel so lucky to be in this. So get your tickets. Link in my bio. Link in my bio. Oh, the link is like Instagram bio and whatever bios. I can't keep up with that. I will be in D.C., Washington, D.C. at the Comedy Loft, March 27, 28, 29. Aruba, March 31st to the 3rd. I am going to be in Martinsville, New Jersey, at Martinsville Gardens on April 6th. I will be at Temple Beth Am in Miami On April 8th, Boca Black Box, April 9, 10. Then it's Passover. I'm going to Sellersville, Pennsylvania on the 19th. I got a lot going on. Pittsburgh. I've never been to Pittsburgh. On April 25th, Jersey City, April 26th. Go to my, what's it called? Website, my website, judygold.com. Get all the info. And also, if you get a minute, please read, there was an op-ed in the New York Times on Sunday about free speech and journalists. And it's from the editorial board, and it's really good. It's really good. And, I don't love everything the New York Times writes when it comes to, political stuff, but whatever. This one was really good, and it really ties into our podcast today with Stephanie Ruhle. So, what is it? No further ado, with no further ado, please sit back, relax, and enjoy part 1 of my interview with the one and only Stephanie Ruhle. I've had a lot of podcast guests over the last, how long? 10 fucking years. Anyway, this woman is the hottest journalist in the world. In the fucking world. She is so brilliant. I mean, we're going to talk about this. I have never seen a journalist, TV journalist, listen as actively as she does. I mean, the fucking glasses in the mouth. It is unbelievable. B.T. Wong and I text each other every night. Oh my God, look what she's wearing. I don't watch much news anymore, but I do not miss Stephanie Ruhle's show. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephanie Ruhle. It's true. Oh my God, look how hot she is. Look at you. Are you going to wear that on the air tonight?
I'm going topless tonight.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Can you open the... Oh, okay. Anyway...
I'm so happy to be here. I'm the biggest Judy fan, so
no,
I'm so
you
happy to
are...
be here.
Steph, I can't. Look at that. Like, the smile. I can't stand it. All right, Stephanie.
Can I tell you something about these water bottles really quick?
Yeah.
When I get on a stage and there's water bottles, I already panic. And I'm going to tell you a really quick story. 6 years ago, there's this big conference every year in France called Cannes Lions. It's like this big...
Like Cannes?
Correct. It's like a big media marketing conference. I don't know how I get roped in to do this, but I am interviewing Kanye West.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, so nice,
he's
so nice.
Such a good guy.
And it was like 2 weeks after he and Kim got married. Okay, we're in this giant auditorium. It's like the Lincoln Center of the south of France.
Right.
And we're about to walk on stage, and there's 2 water bottles just like this between our 2 chairs, and they're glass Evian bottles.
Oh, God.
And he stops and will not get on stage. And like the music, and it's their cameras are rolling, da-da-da-da-da. And he said, I'm going to need a drink when they got on stage. And they said, yes, of course, there is water right there for you. And he said, no. He goes, I'm going to need the labels taken off. And you couldn't take the label off. It was a glass bottle. And he's like, I'm Kanye West. As soon as I pick that bottle up and I take a sip, people are going to be snapping pictures. And I just did an advertisement for Evian then, and they haven't paid me yet. And I'm like, this can't be happening. Right?
I fucking hate him so much.
I'm like pouring off of me. We're in a union building, so like they're leaving the building. We got delayed an hour and a half because they had to leave the building, traffic ever, to get this man a bottle of water. So there I am sitting backstage with Kanye West and Kris Jenner. I don't know where Kim was, but he had just married Kim, and Kris was. It was like, so imagine there's me. I worked at Bloomberg Television, me, Kanye, and Kris sitting next to each other for an hour and a half. And right then, and it was like early Kanye days.
Right.
I remember thinking, no brand should ever partner with this man if he gets if he gets ultimate creative control, forget it now. Like, you're done. But so every time I get on stage and I see bottles of water, I'm like, Judy, I'm going to need you to take off the labels because someone's going to photograph me taking a sip and
the Poland swing.
Advertisement.
The Poland. Did you read today? He's coming out. Did you see the crypto coins?
I don't have my bell. Fuck. I usually have a Jew bell. He's coming out with swastika crypto coins.
You know what?
But
you know what?
Yeah.
I don't even blame him. There are so many terrible people out there, and those terrible people are nameless, faceless, whatevers. It's the people who continue to support him,
Right.
who buy his products. I mean, that's like the whole meme coin craziness.
Right.
If you're buying the Melania coin or the Trump coin, it basically has a disclaimer like, hey, there is no investment value in this. You're just buying the brand of Trump. So to that, I'm like, have at it. If people want to take their disposable income and flush it down a toilet, that has no bearing on my life. Go for it, kids.
Okay, so I think you're the only person who can explain this. What the fuck is crypto? What the fuck? I don't know what it is. And everyone's
It's a
like, I
waste-
made
yes.
$150,000 on crypto. I'm like, what are you talking about?
We don't need to go down that road.
I know. I figured
It's
you
a
would.
painful, long path. But like, here's the number one reason to be doubtful of it.
Right.
What's the need for it? There isn't a need for another currency right now, or it's existed in such mass for people who are not allowed to use the banking system, right? If crypto was more regulated, if you understood it, if you knew where money was coming from, if you knew where it was going, but right now you don't, it's been a great for the short-term investment for people because it's like gambling. And if you want to gamble, and for some people, they've won big. And for other people, they've lost huge, right? The current president started his own crypto exchange.
I love him so much.
Yeah, amazing. Just a few weeks before the election, and he's made an extraordinary amount of money, and investors have lost over $2 billion. The problem is going to be this, and then we'll move on, I promise. If crypto gets so big that the government then decides we're going to bail out people who lose in crypto. And that should never, ever, ever happen in the way that your money is protected if you put it in a bank, right? The FDIC protects the money that you put in a bank. If the bank goes under, they'll make you whole.
Right.
We should not be doing that in crypto.
Right.
And that's a lot of people's fears that the president is so bulled up on crypto. They think, oh, it's going to be too big to fail. And if it blows up, the U.S. government will come in and rescue people, which they absolutely should not. I mean, would you show up at the Wynn in Vegas and say, okay, all you losers, I'm going to make you whole tonight?
Right.
Maybe they do that at the Tropicana, but probably not.
They definitely don't do it at Trump Casino, which is no longer in business. Okay.
Hey everyone, Elisa and I, one of the things we love to do is scroll through the Redfin app and look at real estate in our area or in a neighborhood or where we're going. And she loves it because she works at the real estate industry. I love it because I get invited, to so many people's homes. It could be for Shabbat dinner. It could just be for an event. It could be, I'm on the boards of these organizations and they have these fundraising things. And I'm telling you, to be able to look up their addresses and see photos and how much square footage, it's just so fun. Scrolling real estate is so fun on the Redfin app. Whether you're looking to buy or rent your next place, you need the Redfin app. Redfin makes it fun to search all the homes and apartments in your neighborhood. And if you find a place you love, Redfin makes it easy to go see it in person. Just schedule a tour right from the app. Plus, if you're looking to sell, Redfin agents know how to get you the best price possible because they close twice as many deals as other agents. And with a listing fee as low as 1%, Redfin's fees are half of what others often charge. So, whether you're looking to buy, rent, or sell, download the Redfin app to get started. You're welcome.
Steph, I love going over people's lives. You were born in Park Ridge, New Jersey.
I sure was.
You're in Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl.
I sure was. Like sometimes when I'm in airports and like they'll be walking, like when you'll be like going through customs and they never know what country people are from, and then they get to my husband and I. There was like, "Hello, Americans," and I'm like, "Why?" And I'll even be extra careful. I'll like try to be quiet,
right?
Or like we'll have a bag and I'll have the two of us hold it together. Like in Europe, it's always like you hold a handle and I hold a handle. I'm like, let's see, and then there was like Americans, and I'm like, ugh.
Where did he grow up?
Washington, D.C.
Really?
He's very fancy.
Yeah.
He
looks fancy.
He is.
You went to Park Ridge High School.
I did.
You have an older sister, Stacy, who's an architect.
You left out that I was Miss Park Ridge High School.
Well, I was about to get there.
I don't know how many homecoming queens you have on this stage, but I think you might want to acknowledge it.
All right. Miss Park Ridge High School. We definitely would not have been friends in high school.
Yes, we would have.
You would have been mean to me. You would have
No
called
way.
me Bigfoot and Sasquatch like everyone else did.
No way. No
So
way.
you were popular the entire, like, did you ever go through any childhood trauma of not fitting in? Go.
Yes.
When? What?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first
Okay,
of all,
what? When?
my mother Louise Ruhle never, ever, ever allowed. I never owned a pair of jeans. She never allowed us to wear sweats. Like when I was in the 4th grade, I was dressed like a 52-year-old in like a Liz Claiborne sweater set with a skirt and pantyhose. Like I've always dressed.
I hate pantyhose so much.
Yeah, and Liz Claiborne. That's how
Yeah,
I was
Liz
dressed.
Claiborne. I
Yeah,
remember Liz
yeah.
Claiborne.
Yeah.
Wait, so
I had short hair forever and ever and ever.
Okay, these are
Yeah.
not problems.
Yes.
Okay,
And
you were
then-
Miss
yes.
Park Ridge.
And
Were
then
you a
I-
cheerleader?
I was captain of my
God,
cheerleading
vomit.
squad.
Someone get me a vomit bag, please. What other extracurricular activities?
I was captain of my cheerleading squad. I was involved in, theater. I was editor of my yearbook. I did
Oh, God.
all the But you know what? You can do that when you go to a tiny little school. You can kind of do lots of things.
How many kids in your class?
70.
Oh.
Yeah, tiny.
Oh, we had 300 something, and I hated every single one of them. So it was a tiny little school,
And I
you
love
were
New Jersey, but I live there in the summer now. But I can't imagine. I live here because I work so much.
But also, don't you love bringing your kids up in the city?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I love bringing my children up in the city because, first of all, I love the anonymity of wealth in New York.
Right.
And that's something I think people don't think about. But the thing is, in New York, you don't really see where people live. You don't see the car that they drive. You don't know if they have a car. And so only on rare occasions do you even go into someone's home. And I think that's so different from the way I grew up in the suburbs where every
Everyone
mother's
knew-
in a Sergio Tacchini tracksuit
Yeah.
seeing who got a new Huffman Coos,
Right.
couch
Huffman
that day.
Coos, oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh, I remember Huffman
That's
Coos.
a throwback for Jersey.
Yeah.
But
Do you remember Grants?
Yeah,
Yes,
of course I do,
okay.
of course.
Wawa, go ahead.
I just think in the city, and of course it was a different time, but even when I grew up, nobody had a working mom. And it wasn't that everybody was so wealthy, it's because nobody could afford childcare.
Right.
It wasn't like, oh, you live in this fancy town. It was, who else was going to take care of their kids besides their mothers? And just raising your kids in New York City in a town where, from when your kids are born, people are co-parenting, they're same-sex families. Like, it's not an issue to introduce to your children. It's just how you live.
Yeah. My mother grew up in Manhattan, 2 blocks from where I live. And she said constantly it would have been so much easier to bring you up in New York City.
Yeah.
Because if you're a weirdo like me, there's someone weirder, or there's some group you can join with other people who are in the marching band and 6'3" and play the clarinet,
Do you play the clarinet?
Yeah, but I
Okay,
mostly play piano.
But why the clarinet? Because here's the
Okay,
thing.
I'll tell you
Even when it's played well, it's not nice to listen to.
Oh my God! Yes, it is. What are you talking about? No, that's a
It's
shitty
not.
clarinet. Oh my God, that is so anti-Semitic. Okay. Okay, I'll tell you why I learned.
Is the clarinet a Jewish instrument?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Is it? Yes.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
I'm not even Jewish, and I know.
I
Yeah.
do not think it's a Jewish instrument.
Oh God, it's whiny like the Jews. Okay, so no, listen. This is why I play the clarinet.
Do you still play it?
Yeah, I have 2 of them. I did Shakespeare in the Park and I did the all-female Taming of the Shrew, and I played clarinet too.
That's
in there.
awesome.
Yeah, I loved it. But oh God, stop. Anyway, so I went to public school. Was yours public?
Yeah.
70 people. I can't believe it. All right. And I remember in grammar school, I wanted to play a musical instrument, and I wanted to play French horn really bad. And they're like, we don't have any French horns left to rent. And I'm like, fuck. So I picked the clarinet. And it's the nerdiest instrument. I mean, it was bad enough that I was taller than the teachers. And then I'm in the band. And it's not like, at least with flute, it's like girly, you know what I mean?
Yes.
The clarinet's like, you know, with the buck teeth. And yeah, so sending you some clarinet concertos to listen to. Okay, so you were Miss Pop. Was your sister really popular too?
No. But my sister is 5 years older than I am.
Right.
And so it's almost like having an only child twice. But I will tell you, my sister is much more skilled than I am.
She's an architect.
She's much more skilled. And if you catch her on the wrong night of a cocktail party now at 50 whatever years old, you might overhear her, like even to this day, saying like, you know, when Stephanie and I were both young and we would be in dancing school, I would practice and practice and practice. And I knew the routines down cold. Tap, jazz, ballet. And she goes, this one, she never knew the routines, but she was the shortest. So she'd get herself in the front and she'd smile the biggest and she'd be winking at the audience and she'd be shimming at age 5. And I'm like, Stace, you're 52.
Yeah.
Stop telling that story.
No, because she can't get over it because you were the fucking homecoming queen.
But we are true ride or die. Like,
all right, well, that's good.
Like,
did you fight growing up?
yes, but we're so many years apart, not so much. And we've never been best friends, like hang out together,
Right.
but we are best friends like sisters. Like we have a mother who absolutely would bury a body for us. If you're in high school and there's only one dress at a Columbus, Ohio Bamberger's in your size, she would drive her Oldsmobile to Ohio
No
to pick
way.
it up. I mean, she's Louise Ruhle. Every single day of my life, my mother calls me on the phone or writes it down on a piece of paper if when I was living abroad, and she says, "You are not the tallest, you are not the smartest, you are not the prettiest, you are not the fastest, but you can do anything you set your mind to. I believe in you. Go get him."
No way.
Yes.
I wish my mother did the same thing, but she didn't include "you're not the tallest." Okay.
Because you know we're raised to think like, oh, if only I was pretty, if only I was this. And she's like, guess what? Somebody is better at all of those things than you, but nobody else can outwork you. Go get it.
Yeah, that also not Jewish. Okay. Like, I remember if I didn't see a friend for a while, my mother would be like, "What happened? She dumped you?" Like that. I know. So you were Miss Prom.
Okay, hold on. You know when you do that, because I have a tendency to do that with my children, like assume the worst. You are writing a narrative that then becomes true.
Right.
And I'm actually working on not doing that. One of my children, see, I'm already doing it. I'm about to say he's exceptionally naughty. And because I brand him as exceptionally naughty, and I always assume the worst.
Yeah, but you use the word exceptionally, so that's good.
And then I assume the worst. You create that narrative. So when
Right.
our mothers are like, did the friend dump you? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Oh, I know. And it's all about her. Anyway, she's dead. Okay, so
How are you with your son?
I have 2 sons. I think I'm really good with both of them, even though the older one thinks I like the younger. Yeah. No, I'm great with them. I'm always like, I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Oh my God, you're the best. Go for it. All right, this is what I used to do. If someone's getting bullied in school, you go right, you defend them. Don't let anyone, and they're like, "Mommy, no one does that. They did that when you were growing up. They don't care." Like, but that's New York City.
Yes.
They're like, we have trans kids. No one gives a shit. So yeah, they're very sweet. People love them. They're the ones that will get up, for someone on the subway.
Doesn't that make you so proud? Nothing makes me prouder than when people tell me, I have 2 sons and a daughter, when people say to me, when they compliment my children.
Right,
Like,
that's
it just,
exactly
there's
right.
nothing that makes me feel better. But I really struggle, less with my boys, more with my daughter. It is so, when your children are suffering in any way.
Oh my
When they're
God.
being mistreated, like, there's, and I knew that even before I had kids. My one reservation with having kids, I know I'm a hyper empathetic person in that if I'm in a room, I can feel the person. I bet you
Right.
can too. I can feel the person that's uncomfortable.
Yeah, same.
And I can feel, and it's almost like an affliction, because then you're like dancing like a chimpanzee for them, and then after I'm like, why do I have to do that? Because you want to make everybody feel okay. So I was so worried before I had kids, because I knew that when they felt pain, I would feel it 10 times more. And holy shit, that's a real thing.
They say you're only as happy as your least happy child.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because
I mean, like, I get physically ill when they're suffering. Yeah.
And I feel like I experience it the most with my daughter, who's only 11. And
She's so cute.
she's a sweet, kind person. So much sweeter than I've ever been. And it's funny because the girls who are the meanest to her have the moms who are in my face, like, hey.
Oh, yeah.
And all I want to say is, do you know the way that we're going to become friends? Not have your child be a terrorist to mine.
Right.
And it was funny. Like, one day I actually called Jenna Bush and Savannah, and I was like, please give me some advice, because I'm about to write an Instagram post of, you know how you can make friends with me? Make sure your daughter isn't mean to mine. And they're like, don't do it. They're like, you write that Instagram post, the whole Upper East Side is going to try to figure out who's being mean to your child.
Right.
But it's really hard, especially if my son's, my oldest son definitely does, but like my daughter who's 11 doesn't have social media and she doesn't have a cell phone.
Good for you.
And we're holding out as long as we can. But the doctors who push that never tell you the downside. If you have the kid who doesn't have technology, then your kid's kind of a pilgrim farmer.
Right.
Where everyone's like TikTok dancing, wearing da-da-da-da, and your daughter's like, hey, Macarena.
Right.
You know, and so I'm always saying to our kids, like, well, you know what? Like, it's the 5 of us. Like, we've got each other, but it's hard. It's totally hard. Yes.
I mean, look, my kids had same-sex parents, and one of them plays basketball, and I can't.
In Israel.
No, he is going to. He's done at Binghamton this year, and then he's going to go. But no, one of them, when he was playing basketball growing up, like the shit they heard on the court, like, you faggot, you this. And I remember they were playing at PS 87. That's where they went.
Where's PS 87? Because PS 89 is way downtown.
No, PS 87 is on Amsterdam and 77th.
Oh.
So Ben was playing basketball, and some kid was like, faggot. And after Ben beat the shit out of him, he said to him, why do you hate gay people? And the kid's like, I don't hate gay people. And he said, well, when you speak like that, it sounds like you hate gay people.
How proud did that make you?
Then Henry was playing baseball, and he was the catcher, and they were playing York Prep.
Yeah.
And, so, some guy, whatever, slid in, and Henry got him out and called him a faggot or whatever. And Henry got up, went to the ref, said, I have gay parents, and you are not allowed to use that language around me. And he needs to, he really stood up for himself. And the coach of York Prep came over, apologized, and came out to the team.
Get out.
Swear to G-G. Yep.
How proud did that make you?
My God, I can't. And now he works with kids with behavioral problems.
He does?
Yes.
Where?
At
here?
Yeah, in New York City. Okay.
That's awesome.
Okay. So,
And that's the other great part about raising your kids in New York City. If you grow up out of New York, right? I mean, it was also because we didn't have any money, but I went to the school closest to my house that was free.
Right.
And what a privilege it is to be able to afford and live somewhere where there's lots of schools that you could actually find a school that suits
fits
your
child. Yeah.
Like, that's just not something that I even thought existed. When I didn't even know that that could exist.
You didn't know that at all in New
No.
Jersey. New Jersey's very, yeah. Okay. But I'll defend it till the end of the earth.
Yeah.
Work management platforms. Ugh. Endless onboarding, IT bottlenecks, admin requests. But what if things were different?
We found love in an open space.
Monday.com is different. No lengthy onboarding. Beautiful reports in minutes. Custom workflows you can build on your own. Easy to use prompt-free AI. Huh. Turns out you can love a work management platform. Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use.
Okay, so you went to Lehigh.
I did.
Woo! What was your major?
So I went to Lehigh originally to study engineering.
Wow.
Only because, and this is like maybe kind of a bad story. So my dad is an engineer. My dad was a mechanical engineer, and he's a brilliant engineer and a terrible business person. And he was chief engineer of the company that he worked for, and there was a bunch of changes, and my dad ended up taking over the company. And I remember when I was a little girl, I can't believe I'm telling this on a podcast, but he's not going to listen, so we're okay.
Okay.
My dad made positioning devices that went on, that go on the space shuttle, that go on like giant, complicated machinery. And Boeing was one of their clients. And Boeing made a mistake, not my dad, and they needed this one piece that only my dad makes. So we lived in New Jersey, and he's like, oh, I have to drive into the city to deliver this. And I loved New York City.
Right.
It was my dream my whole life to live here. So he's like, I have to make this delivery. So we're driving into the city, and he's telling me, he's like, oh, they really need this piece, blah, 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 blah. And he said they flew their employee on one of their planes just to come pick this up, and they were staying at the Palace Hotel. So they flew somebody all the way from Colorado here on their plane. The person was sitting for 3 days at the Palace Hotel, waiting for my dad to deliver this part in an envelope. He delivers the part, he hands it to the person, blah, blah, blah. We get back in the car. And I said, how much did you charge them for it? I was like 9. And he's like, what do you mean, how much did I charge them? And I said, how much above what you normally charge did you make them pay? And he's like, nothing, I didn't charge them anymore. And I remember being 9, like, this guy sucks at business. Sucks. And my whole life, I remember being like, this guy's really smart, and he has this company, but we don't really have much money.
Right.
I'm gonna go work there one day. I'm like, because I think I could figure this out. But when I was, and he was like, don't study engineering, Stephanie. You'll be terrible at this. You're not that good at math. This isn't gonna work out. And I'm like, no, it'll be great. And as soon as I get to Lehigh, and as soon as I start, I'm like, shit, I'm never gonna pass this, and it's terrible. And so I was gonna leave school.
You were?
Yeah.
You think Louise would have let you?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to transfer.
Right.
Things were. It was all just going sideways for me. And my sister had just graduated from architecture school, and she said, "Don't transfer." She said, "Go abroad." She said, "Go abroad for as long as you can." She goes, "I just finished school," and she started as an architect. She's like, "I have 2 weeks vacation a year." And she said, "While you have these 4 years," she goes, "What's 4 years in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania going to get you? Keg parties, fraternity parties, what?" She's like, forget. So as soon as my freshman year was done, I left. And I studied in Guatemala, Costa Rica, Kenya, and Italy. And it was incredible. And Italy was
2 years of your college career you spent abroad.
So my sophomore year, my junior year, and I was living in Italy, and I wanted to stay in Europe, but I had no money left. And I always worked. I've worked since I was like 13. I love making, I spent every single Saturday night of high school babysitting.
Right.
Because I knew like the one rich family in my town, and I could babysit for them and make 50 or 70 bucks. And that to me was so much better than a red
That's
solo
a lot.
couple.
How much
a
an
ton.
hour?
Well, I would sleep over because they would go to New York City. They were partiers.
Oh,
and so I
wow.
would try the mother's dresses on, use her Paul Mitchell shampoo. Yeah. And that was so much money. And I remember being like, 50 bucks is way better than hanging out with you guys at Montvale Lane's bowling alley.
Yeah.
So I was living in Italy. I wanted to stay in Europe, and I had no money left. And so I'm like, what job could I get? So I'm like, banking. So I wrote letters to Lehigh alumni who worked in banking, and I got a job with Merrill Lynch.
You're so resourceful.
You know what? I am I am not academically smart, but I'm really resourceful.
Please.
No. I'm really resourceful.
Okay, well, you have an emotional intelligence that's beyond.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You. My husband has zero emotional intelligence.
Right.
So
it's
but
a
he's
good
super
match.
academic. So when we had
Right.
our kids, we're like, the right combination is going to be incredible, and the wrong combination is going to be a disaster. And we kind of got in the middle. So I got a job working for Merrill Lynch.
Right.
And before the summer, I was going to be in Geneva. And right before the summer
Wow.
started, the whole group quit. And they were like, there's no job in Geneva, but you can come work in New York. So I'm like, okie doke. So I come to New York for the summer, and I'm Melanie Griffith is in Working Girl, like
Right.
taking the train, taking the ferry,
Right,
like
right.
let the river run.
Yeah.
Let the river run. Right?
Okay.
And just like so excited, in this like oversized Ann Taylor like
Yeah.
suit with like a briefcasey that
Yeah.
just so corny, terrible. And I remember I remember every day leaving work feeling like such a loser as like everybody's like at the bars in the World Financial
Right.
Center, like having a drink after work, as like every hoochie mama from Jersey is taking the boat at 5:30 to meet a stockbroker. And
Right.
I'm just like, as I'd be going home to New Jersey. So I interned there for a summer, and I had this like crappy back office internship. And I had to make a delivery onto their trading floor. And a trading floor is just like a newsroom, just like intense energy, screaming, yelling, and it's all dudes. And I meet these
Yeah.
two guys, super nerds, who traded interest rate derivatives. Who even knows what that is?
No
I certainly
fucking clue.
didn't.
Okay.
And I make friends with them, and I said, if I come in before my internship starts in the morning, and then I come to you after, can you teach me about this? And they're like, sure. So I basically spend the summer there, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know what anybody on this trading
So you
floor
would
does.
go in at like
Super early,
6 a.m.,
like 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
And I'd sit with them from like 5 until 8:30.
Wow.
And then I'd go back there at like 5 and I'd sit with them for another hour, right? It was great, 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 great. I mean, it was all a little, I was pimping out my girlfriends a little
Right.
bit too, but we'll
Yeah.
leave that part out. And in fact, one of them, when I ended up graduating college, he was living in Tokyo, and somehow I hornswoggled him. I'm like, you're living in Tokyo. You got this big apartment in Tribeca. How about me and my girlfriends live in it? And whenever you come back to New York, we have like a big party for you. And for like 6-9 months, we did that.
No
it was
way.
Yeah, in this like big ass apartment. It was
Oh,
great.
wow.
But okay, so I work at Merrill for the summer, and then I start interviewing at all these investment banks to get a banking job. And the greatest accidental cheating thing happens. So I make it through. So because I studied abroad, that's how I was getting lots of these interviews. Because normally you have to go to like only Ivy League schools or Duke to even
Right.
get a job in banking. But I had this crazy resume. I lived all over. So I'm in
Miss
New York
Park
City.
Ridge High.
I left that out.
Yeah.
So it's a Sunday night, and they have what they call super days at all the banks. Like you're there for the final rounds, and
Right.
they start on Monday. And that Sunday night, I come into the city, and these two guys, I'm like, hey, you want to go to dinner? And they say yes. They're 27, so I'm like 21. So we go to dinner, and it's these two and like 5 of their other nerdy kind of friends. We're at dinner, and they're like, oh my God, everyone's like, oh my God, you're interviewing for banking tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And they all work at banks. So like, we, conduct those interviews for our, respective banks. And at the table, they start telling not just the questions they ask in interviews, but in the interviews, they ask all those really hard word problems. Like the SAT ones of like, there's 2 trains going.
Oh, yeah,
One's
I
going at
fucking
60 miles.
hated that. Yeah,
Fuck,
yeah.
I could never, I would not be able to answer one of those
Right.
if my life depended on
Yeah,
it.
same.
However, I'm sitting there at the dinner table, and they start telling question after question that they ask in interviews. And I guess there's only about 8 of those questions. I got asked every
No way.
single one. So there I am, right? Like, with a whiteboard, and I'm like,
Right.
52, Alabama, blah, blah. And they're like, yes. And they're like, how did you do it? How'd you get it?
So great.
And so, it was, it was cheating, but like an accidental cheat. Because, yes, did I tell them, oh, I learned all these answers yesterday? But also, in life, in banking, you don't necessarily have to show your work. You just have to make sure you can get people to the other side.
Right.
And so they're like, I don't know how this girl does it. And so I ended up getting a job.
And you didn't feel like imposter syndrome?
I have huge imposter syndrome.
Wow.
I have probably imposter syndrome is probably what plagues me the most
Wow.
in my life every day. Now it's people who have imposter
It's
syndrome. It's crippling.
unwarranted. Yeah, it's
But-
unwarranted at this point.
But oftentimes, like I happen to think that real confidence is quiet, which I don't have. Right? Real confidence is very quiet. And oftentimes
I
people
definitely
think,
don't have
but
that.
people think
Yeah.
that people who are aggressive or assertive, oh, they're
Right.
super confident. And I actually think that's like people who, that's like where complete insecurity and panic collide.
Right.
Is where you have extroverts.
Like that makes me think of Gloria Steinem. Right?
Yes.
Just, hey, how are never, no, and the bravest of the brave, and just never
Never
That's
seeks
anyone.
attention.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Painfully
Yeah.
sexy
Yeah.
without ever wearing one single revealing
Right.
item ever.
And even wearing her glasses over her hair. Remember that?
Yes. But the sexiest ever, ever, ever.
Do you want to know what I'm thinking about right now? Huffman Coos. I can't believe you said Huffman Coos. Like I see the sign in my head. Okay.
In script on Route 4.
Okay. So you then go to finance, and then you get a job at Credit Suisse.
Credit Suisse. Yeah, at Credit Suisse, and my right out of undergrad, and my husband and I
Yes, that's
were
where
in
you
the
met.
same training program. And I was 1997.
No,
Oh.
did you like look at him and were like, oh my God?
Sort of. So he was definitively in the smart people, like over here. And he went to Princeton and studied aeronautical engineering and played lacrosse there and was like,
Oh, yeah.
And I was panic stricken every minute of the training program because I didn't know anything.
Right.
I didn't know anything in finance. I could barely pass the licensing exam. But I met him because at the end of the training program, they do this there's like 60 trainees, and there's this giant competition. And they give you 2 days, they give you a binder that's like the history of Credit Suisse. And they give you 2 days to prepare your presentation. And then in a giant auditorium, before all the managing directors in the bank, you have to do a presentation that's like, here's why you should do business with this bank. His presentation had like a whiteboard, facts, figures, deductive reasoning, blah, 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 blah. Mine was practically the Last Showgirl. I mean, like, just there wasn't a fact to be had. I mean, practically T-shirt cannons, glitter. I mean, the whole thing. And so everybody does their presentation. This guy gets up at the end and says, "This year we had 2 presentations that were so exceptional, yet and so different they can't even be compared." And they go on and listen, there's different ways to do business, there's different customers, there's different clients. These 2 people sold the bank harder than anyone else, and you can't even compare the 2, so we have 2 winners, and it was Andy and I.
No way! Oh my God, that's such a great story.
So
okay.
That's how we like met each other. I didn't even remember what we both won, right?
Were you like, oh, congratulations?
I was like, hey. And everyone else was like, that fucking idiot. Like, she
Right.
barely passed the test. And I'm like, I'm going to get you suckers.
Yeah.
So a year later, he's walking by me at work.
Right.
And I said hi to him. And I worked for an older guy who I really looked up to. And he said, you know Andy Hubbard? And I said, yeah. And he said, he was the smartest kid on the Princeton lacrosse team. And as soon as that happened, I'm like, I think I like him. Okay, ready? This is the worst. The next day, Star Wars was coming out with a new movie. It was like the first remake, like when they were
I
the old
remember
Star Wars,
that.
it was like Jar Jar Binks, right? And somehow I knew that Andy liked Star Wars. And I knew one really successful guy in New York who ran a hedge fund. And I called him on the phone and I said, there's a premiere of Star Wars tomorrow night. There's this guy I really like. I want to ask him, can you get me 2 tickets? And he said, you really like this guy? And I said, I do. He goes, tickets will be at your desk in an hour. I call Andy on the phone and I said, hey, Stephanie Ruhle, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, hey, Stephanie, how are you? I'm like, oh, I have 2 tickets to the Star Wars premiere tonight. And he goes, awesome, I'm going next week. Tell me how it is. And hung up.
Oh my God! Fuck! Are you kidding?
So I'm now stuck with 2 tickets, and I leave out the part of the story that I was dating someone else at the time who I didn't
Right.
really like. But so I go with that guy. And I'm not at all looking forward to going. I'm not at all looking forward to seeing the movie. So we had a few drinks at dinner, and I'm not a big drinker. So now we go to the movie, and like all premieres, it doesn't start till 11. Everyone else in the theater, besides the actors, are like in Wookiee costumes. They're dressed as R2-D2. They have lightsabers. They've camped out for 3 days. Da-da-da-da-da. Halfway through the movie, I fall asleep. And the people sitting around me verbally assault me until I had to leave.
No way.
'Cause they're
Were
like-
you snoring?
I was just passed out. And they're like, I've been waiting in line for 3 days for these tickets. You're such a waste of time. And the funny thing is, that's not the only, that similar thing happened to me a few years later.
Yeah.
When I worked in banking, I had to go to the Stanley Cup finals. And the Devils won. So everyone sitting around me are these giant Devils fans, and we're sitting on the ice. And in my defense, every other sport is 2 halves and 4 quarters.
Right.
Okay? In my defense. There are 2 minutes left in the game,
Right.
and the Devils are about to win the Stanley Cup. Now, mind you, I've already offended the people around me because I'm like, isn't it so smart that these hockey players wear beards because it's so cold on the ice? And they're like, no, you idiot. It's superstition. They're not shaving until they lose. I'm like, oh, I knew that. So now there's 2 minutes left in the game, okay? People are like dying, like their beloved Devils are about to win the Stanley Cup. I'm thinking there's another quarter. I'm literally waving down a waitress like, can we have another drink? I want to have a hot dog. I'm ordering a car. And again, the people around me are like, get out of here. You are the waste of a seat. We're about to, and I'm like, cool your jets. You got another 12 minutes of this thing, don't you? And the guy I'm with is like, you should leave. Like someone's going to hit you. You should leave.
No way.
So yeah, so I never saw the end of the Stanley Cup or the end of that Star Wars movie. Because you know what I learned? You know what, Steph? If you have a really special ticket, get your shit together and know where you are.
Right.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of my interview with Stephanie Ruhle. This podcast is produced by Laura Vogel, edited by Colin Schmaling, and marketed by Haley Dircher. The theme song by the one and only Lauren Gold. Go follow him on Instagram. He has such a great Instagram. And he's just the best. He's the best. So do that. Please subscribe, leave a review, make it 5 stars, please. And I don't know what else to tell you. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Part 2's fantastic as well. So that's all I have to say. I got shit to do, people. Shit to do. Places to be. And come see me and my first ex-husband. And I love you for listening. I really do. And as we always say, so long, ga 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 ga.